Hello, Felix.
Hello, Jakub.
Can we hear each other?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi.
Hi.
You're my second guest today, and I'm very excited to have you and connect with Basel in
Thank you
Switzerland.
for having me.
It is an important city for me and a country because this is where Basel Sinfonietta is based. And this is where we had our first international concert with the use of the video solution that OnStage app has. May I ask you, because maybe not everybody knows you yet, to say a few words about yourself for everybody.
Yes, I'm Felix. I'm the managing director of the Basel Sinfonietta. Basel Sinfonietta is a full-size symphony orchestra specialized in contemporary music. We have a whole season here in Basel with basically six concerts full of world premieres and Swiss premieres, and always open for new ideas and new technologies.
Yes, thank you so much for this quick intro. We've met during Classical Next conference actually, and that was in 2018, if I am not mistaken, in May. And that was our first conference where we were introducing app to the global market, really, with as part of a Polish stand organized by Adam Mickiewicz Institute back then. And I remember that we had this cute little instrument that was consisting of little small things that were making some kind of noise, and we had two phones attached to it so everybody could have a look and observe actually during the conference how the app works. And I remember back then with my colleague, I left to speak with somebody, and I believe you came across her to see what the app is. And then when I came, you were kind of already finishing the conversation, and she said, "I think we have our first client." I said, "Oh yeah, this is amazing." So can I ask you, Felix, if you remember, if you could share with us what you saw, what you thought, and why eventually you have decided to try it during Basel Sinfonietta concert?
Yes, exactly. That was this installation, this really cool installation at the Classical Next stand, and by myself, I was going to the Classical Next because looking around for new ideas, new technologies, as I said, and the orchestra. The members of the orchestra and the orchestra himself and also our audience are really open-minded people. And for me, the idea, or during our conversation, there are basically two reasons that are really making me going ahead, for working together for the first time. First of all, it was for us, it was a chance. I saw this technology, I saw it's already working, and you had this your test area in Warsaw, I guess, and we decided to use it in two concerts. On one hand for the season opening, and on the other hand for a second concert with a percussion soloist, and for this first concert. So it was really challenging and important for us, or really, I guess, good for us to present the new technology as the first client, also as the first international client. And we want to jump in this cold water to bring it to the people, and to have this first, also this experience and idea of what the feedback and what can do it with all the audience and the concert room. And for us, it was also, a good marketing tool to start in the new season. And for the second concert, it really solved a problem that we had with the percussion soloist, because we played a new work by Michel Roth for percussion and orchestra, and the soloist used a lot of really small and little percussion instruments on stage. And for the audience, basically from this these people in the last row, it was not really able to see what's going on the stage. And also with the composer, we talked about how can we solve this problem. Is it, you know, necessary to use cameras and beamers or screens on the left or on the right side on the stage? And this app really solved this problem, because we used for this special piece the cameras and focused on these little details, and it was, you know, all the audience was able to use it or to just hear it, and they can switch during the piece. So it was for the perfect solution for the perfect piece, you know.
Yes, I remember speaking with one of the festival representatives, I believe, when I was explaining how our video solution can be used during the concert. And he was mentioning that they've tried what you have just said about the, you know, having some cameras on the stage focusing on details, and then having screens placed on the stage as well. So people will be able to see, the audience members, in details what is happening on the stage. And I remember the story told by this guy that there was a piano recital, and of course the pianist is like this, right? So then they placed these big screens, and the delay was approximately, I think, half a second compared to the real time. And the pianist could see himself on the screen with details on his hands, because the one camera was focusing on a keyboard, delayed for half a second with the side of his eye. And apparently, and I can imagine, that it is almost impossible then to play that way, because you see yourself being a little bit delayed, and how can you focus on what you actually do? And in the case of our app, as you are saying, there is remote cameras only used. There is no cameraman on the stage, and there is no picture transmitted, visible to the artist. And I also remember this very situation, as you were saying, with the percussion player, because he was playing on the timpani that had no lid, and he was producing sound by doing something inside. And from the perspective of the audience member, it was the percussion player is doing something inside. And
exactly.
Because we played two cameras like this, showing how he's doing this, then of course for myself and for everybody else who was present in the audience, they could just see how the sound is produced. And as you were saying, it's also very important to say that the app can be used but doesn't have to be used. So whoever wants to use it can do that during the concert. And I can share from our backstage, because we observe in real time everything what is happening, how many people use it, is that there is always a big peak at the beginning of the concert, especially if we change the setup of the orchestra after the break. And then again, there is a big peak because there is different things being presented and shown to the audience members. And can I ask you a little bit what kind of feedback, after using our app for these two concerts, you had from both orchestra members? Because I remember they've been a little bit like, okay, let's see what it is, and also from the audience members.
Yes, first of all, you know, the audience members and also the orchestra members were a bit unsettled, you know, of course, because it's a new thing, and what's going on, what's happened on stage, and also they are a bit afraid of, you know, you have this very close camera, very close to you on stage, and they can see everything, you know, and there's but at the first concert, so we gave this feedback forms to the audience to get a lot of feedback, and we used the app for of course for the video streaming, also for the program booklet, and also for the scores. So the audience was able to read into the scores during the piece, and there were, you know, about 60% by everyone who used the app was a really positive feedback, because there are most of them are, you know, are subscribers or audience members, they are going more than 5 or 10 times a year in a concert, and they really know this standard, this standard process of a classical concert, and it was something new, and it was a new way, and it was clear you can use it, the app, if you want, but you don't have to. And so that means it's about 60% really positive feedback for the first concert. And the first concert was more the classical concert because there are no soloists. This was the classical symphony orchestra on stage, and they can use the app. But for the second concert, we did it again with these feedback forms, and we used the app exactly the same way like the first one, with the scores and video and so on. And what we could see is there are more than 60% for the second concert. They really liked the app, and they use it very often, because this special thing with this soloist, focused on this percussion soloist, this was the perfect way for using the app. And we can increase these numbers of positive feedbacks by the second concert. And I guess if you use the app, more than twice, or for the whole season, or with, every second concert or whatever, who's fit in this surrounding, then it's a really positive and good technology and there's more, there's a really benefit for the audience. So, and of course on the orchestra members, as I said, they were a bit afraid. So for the first time, and the second time it was no problem. So
it's all about adjusting to new situation. Yeah. I remember listening to some kind of podcast about marketing because I still learn, of course, how to sell, how to market the product, and how to speak with potential clients. And I remember I was super surprised. Somebody who in marketing field was an expert said that we are exposed to so many different things all the time, by on the way from home to work, only in the subways, public transportation, television, radio, and so on, and Facebook, of course, that it takes between 12 to 13 times for an average human being to be exposed to the same message to be able to remember and to understand what it is about. So I think it's so important what you're saying, that to do one concert, okay, it could be a nice experiment, but there is no way that everybody will really understand and even try to use the application for that.
Yeah, because sorry, just
yes,
one little thing. One feedback was maybe a bit the older audience members is, the concert hall is like a cell phone free zone. So it's they are really unsettled to go into the concert room and that, oh my God, there are phones or maybe iPads or whatever. And that's with the iPad, that's really challenging, because if you have a really big iPad, in front of you, it's like a screen, your personal TV on your legs. So that's not really the idea. But with using the mobile phone, it's not really a problem. But this is this kind of mindsetting, concert room or opera houses or so, they must be free of mobile phones.
Yes, and actually, of course, for your concerts that we did together, everybody was allowed to use the phone. But for a number of concerts we did afterwards, actually concert organizers to exactly answer to what you are saying, because of course there's always very conservative part of the audience members, always, everywhere, even for contemporary music concerts. So what we have been actually doing, we started to create smartphone-friendly zones. And that actually answers to that potential problem, because from the very beginning of the marketing of a concert, you market that in this zone, you will be able to use the smartphone, and there will be an app, and you can do this and this and this. And then when people enter, it's very clear that people in these rows, usually the back rows of the concert hall, where you really cannot see much what is happening on the stage, you can use the app to have the the possibility of seeing close-ups of what is happening on the stage. So this is our kind of an answer to how we can satisfy the needs of people who want to do this and the needs of people who want to have traditional experience as it has been for centuries. Can I ask you a last question, Felix?
Sure.
You mentioned at the beginning that you've used an app for the opening of the season, and that it was also for you a marketing tool. Can I ask you if you've seen any kind of different reactions from media that you are working with normally when you said openly that you will allow your audience members to use smartphones during the concert?
Yeah, absolutely. The feedback from the press was really excited, because there are really a lot of articles for radio stations. They asked for interviews before the concert, and they came during the concert. So they were really excited about this idea. Of course, there are positive and negative feedbacks, because they are on the same side, you have this different kinds of people in the audience. You have different kinds of people at journalism. So, but of course, the launch of this international launch of this app in Basel created a lot of feedback from the press. Yeah.
That is so important, and thank you so much for joining me for today, Felix.
Thank you.
Now I wanted to invite you for the next conversation, which will happen at 2 p.m. Central European Time. And my next guest is going to be Luke from Opera Vision. Thank you once more,
very
Felix,
much.
and have a beautiful sunny day.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye. Thank you.